The jungle around the river was breathing alive with the hum of insects and the whisper of moving water. Mist coiled low across the reeds as a SEAL team advanced through the swamp, their boots sinking into the wet soil, rifles steady, eyes scanning for threats that never showed themselves until it was too late. The mission had gone quiet, too quiet, and in that silence, men who had seen too much began to sense the wrong kind of stillness. Lieutenant Hale, the team leader, raised his fist to halt. His throat felt dry under the oppressive humidity, every sound amplified, every shadow alive. They had been tracking a convoy of insurgents moving stolen weapons up river. Intel had been clean, the satellite feeds clear. But now, their Overwatch sniper, Ghost Eye, had gone dark. No comms, no signal, just static. Where's the shooter? Someone whispered, low and uneasy. It wasn't panic, not yet, but it was close. The sniper was supposed to be their shield, the unseen eye that watched over them. And now she was gone. Then the first bullet cracked the silence. It wasn't aimed at them. It hit something upstream, a sharp metallic burst followed by a distant shout. Hale froze. Through the sightline of his rifle, he caught sight of ripples breaking across the water, slow and deliberate. Something was moving just beneath the surface, a shape, dark and steady, cutting through the current. Seconds stretched. The shape rose from the river, water streaming down black tactical gear, her gloved hands gripping the long body of a suppressed rifle. The sniper Ghost Eye emerged like a specter, her face half, covered by a soaked balaclava, reflected the faint shimmer of the dawn. Her eyes were calm, cold, focused, unflinching. She didn't say a word. The SEALs stared as she took a knee in the mud, chambered around and adjusted her scope without a tremor. She had been in the river, waiting, listening, calculating the wind off the surface, the enemy's path, the echo of every distant footstep. Hale opened his mouth to speak, but she had already fired. The bullet tore through the reeds 100 yards ahead, clean and surgical. Silence followed, then chaos. The insurgents broke formation, yelling as one of their own dropped. Hale didn't need to ask. Ghost Eye had seen what no one else could. Ambush positions, hidden guns, men preparing to flank. The team moved on her mark. Every shot she took carved a path forward, each one measured, deliberate, and final. Within minutes, the firefight ended as quickly as it began. Smoke curled above the tree line. The SEALs regrouped, breathing hard, adrenaline coursing through every nerve. Hale turned to her. She was reloading, calm as if the world around her hadn't just erupted in violence. "Where the hell were you?" he finally asked. She looked at him through the dripping mask, eyes unreadable. "Under," she said simply, where they couldn't see. It was the first and only word she spoke that morning. Rain hit the camp that night like broken glass, slanting sideways, hammering against tin and canvas. The SEALs huddled beneath makeshift covers, the glow of a single lantern casting long, trembling shadows. The mission was done. The guns were silent. But Ghost Eye, she sat alone on a crate, rifle dismantled across her lap, cleaning it with slow, practiced motions. No one disturbed her, not because she'd asked for space, she never did, but because there was something in her silence that commanded it. The others laughed, cursed, smoked, and talked about home. She just worked, hands moving like clockwork, the faint scent of oil rising from her gear. Lieutenant Hale finally broke the quiet. "You saved us out there," he said, voice low, almost cautious. "Could have been a massacre." She didn't look up. "Wasn't saving you," she replied softly, "just finishing the mission." But Hale knew there was more to it. Everyone did. The way she fought, methodical, detached, almost surgical, spoke of something deeper than duty, something personal. He sat down across from her, the lantern between them. "They say you trained in Nevada. Army kicked you out before the transfer. That true?" Ghost Eye's hands paused over the rifle for just a heartbeat. "They said I froze," she murmured. "Said I shouldn't be out there." "Did you?" Hale asked. She finally looked at him. The faint reflection of the lantern flickered in her eyes. "I didn't freeze," she said. "I waited." Her voice carried a weight that made the rain sound softer. She told him slowly, carefully about her last deployment before the transfer, how her old unit had walked into a setup, how she'd been the only one left unseen, how she had watched through the scope as her team was cut down one by one, unable to fire without revealing her position. And when she finally did, it was too late. Since then, she'd made a promise. No one under her eye would fall again. Hale listened in silence. No pity, no judgment, just respect. In her voice he heard not weakness, but resolve hardened by guilt and grief. The kind that builds legends. Later that night, as the rain softened to a steady rhythm, the team settled into uneasy sleep. Ghost Eye remained awake, perched by the edge of the camp, rifle reassembled and ready. The moonlight caught her cheek, pale and sharp, like the reflection of steel. Through her scope, she scanned the horizon, not because she expected an enemy, but because it was the only way she knew how to keep breathing. In the dark, she whispered to the ghosts of the fallen. This time, I didn't wait too long. The forest answered her with silence. Dawn came heavy and red over the valley, the kind of light that felt like a warning. The seals moved quietly through the brush, their boots sinking into wet soil, still bleeding from last night's rain. Ghost Eye led the flank, eyes sharp, every muscle alert. Her rifle hung from her shoulder, scope-capped, but her mind was already a few clicks ahead, scanning, calculating, remembering. The silence felt wrong. Even the wind had stopped, then a glint, just a shimmer off the ridge. Her heart seized. Down, she barked, diving to the dirt. A fraction of a second later, the world split open, gun fire erupting like thunder. The ambush was precise, brutal. Dozens of rounds tore through trees, shattering bark, chewing the ground inches from their faces. Contact left, contact left. Hale shouted, firing blind into the ridge. 2 men were already hit. They had no cover, no exit. Ghost Eye crawled through mud, dragging her sniper bag behind her. Her breathing was steady, too steady. The same calm she'd felt that day, years ago, when she froze or waited. Only this time, she knew what had to be done. She found her position half, hidden behind a fallen trunk. Water dripped from the leaves above her as she locked the rifle into place. Her fingers danced across the scope dials, finding distance, wind, elevation. Her cheek pressed into the cold metal. Through the glass, she saw them. 6 tangos moving in formation, one commanding from the rear with a laser designator. One shot at a time, one breath, one decision. The first bullet cracked through the morning mist, catching the lead gunman mid-step. The second took the spotter before he could even turn. By the fourth, the ridge fell silent again, but the commander, he was running toward the ridge's edge, calling in air support. She could see his lips move. The radio in his hand sparked with light. Ghost Eye inhaled slowly, exhaled. Her heartbeat synced with the wind. She whispered, "For the ones I couldn't save." The last shot rang out, a clean echo that rolled through the valley and faded into the mountain's bones. The radio dropped from the commander's hand before he hit the dirt. The SEALs pulled back to safety, dragging the wounded, their breaths ragged but alive. Hale looked up toward the ridge, saw her silhouette standing there against the rising sun. Rifle at her side, smoke curling from the barrel. She didn't wave, she didn't speak. She just stood there for a moment, watching the horizon where the last of the mist was burning away. When Hale reached her minutes later, she was quiet, kneeling by the rifle, staring into the scope like she could still see the ghosts of her past staring back. He said softly, "You didn't wait this time." She gave a faint smile, one that trembled with exhaustion and something like peace. "No," she whispered, "not this time." The sun broke through the clouds, washing her face in gold. Behind her, the valley was calm again. The mission was over. The ghosts were quiet. For the first time in years, so was she.